Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla, let's go over the market, and let's talk about this absolute bloodbath that is occurring today and, well, what we can expect with it moving into tomorrow and really the rest of the month and next week, etc. So, as per usual, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoy this video, don't forget to hit that like button as it does help a lot. This is not financial advice and I am not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section is live. That link is down below in the description of the video. You can access all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates for just $3 a month, right? I constantly post here, constantly share my thoughts, technical analysis, options flow, etc. on Tesla, sometimes other stocks as well. And today we've been actually talking about this breakdown, right? We've been talking about this breakdown. You can see right here, I was saying how if we lose a gap fill around 233-ish, we risk falling out of this trend line / post earnings bear flag. And if that happens, we go to at least 215. And if that breaks, we can finally see 205. This was 5 hours ago, right? This is, you can see on the chart right here. This is well before, Tesla was already down about 3% here, but this is, it closed the day down about almost 6.5%. So, we talk about these things all the time in the members Discord. So again, if you're interested, just $3 a month, you get access to that. But let's just jump into what Tesla closed in the day. Unfortunately, down to 6.55%, closing at $216.86, which compared to the market, pretty brutal day in the market today, right? QQQ down about 2.5%, which is pretty substantial, right? It was down more than that. It did actually bounce a little bit towards the end, right? I think it was down closer to 3% at the lows of the day. Pretty bloody day in the market, right? A lot of redness happening across the market, so a lot of spooky stuff. But with that being said and done, what can we expect from this moving forward with Tesla and other stocks as well? So let's talk about it. So Tesla, starting on the 1 hour chart, let's go ahead and bring this out like this right here. Beautiful. Absolute bloody day, right? We pretty much start off the morning with a nice little pump to the gap fill. And the second we fill this gap that we left, essentially from this morning gap down, we pretty much sold it all off. And then we continued. Then we came down to this, massive support of 255, didn't hold, went right below it, went down to this trend line, which is a potential bear flag, right? This was a potential bear flag, right? So obviously, from this massive earnings sell-off, you come back down like this, set up a little bear flag. From this earnings sell-off right here, massive earnings sell-off, bear flag, and then earnings sell-off, right? Or even from down here. Potential bear flag here. We broke down below this little trend, right? We couldn't uphold it. And we pretty much, with the market itself, of course, just sold off extremely aggressively throughout the whole day. And we came down to a pretty damn important level right now, which is this 215-ish level. Again, not exactly 215, right? Just around 215, 214 and a half, just that general range, right? And we bounced off of it just barely. We did actually sneak below it. You can see a little bit, right? I'm sure some stop losses were baited from this, little breakdown here. And then we did pump back up and now we're holding just barely above it. Now, obviously, this is where things are starting to get interesting, right? And I was telling my members this morning how the 1 hour stochastic, I don't know where it was exactly, but it was somewhere around, somewhere in the morning here. The 1 hour stochastic cross bearish can mean some short-term bearishes is next. I'll be honest, I didn't expect it to be this bad. But, once the stochastic crosses, bearish on the 1 hour chart, which is what happened pretty much in the morning, really, you expect some weakness, right? Obviously, this level of weakness is, I don't think anyone can expect this level of weakness, but weakness nonetheless, right? And I ended up avoiding a decent amount of this pain. I did still get caught myself, right? This is a pretty powerful move. But, I did avoid the majority of this pain, which is a nice thing to see because I saw that go bearish, right? So I tried catching it pretty much right around this level right here, this 225 to 223 level that could have easily held and bounced, but it didn't. So that's where I took my L personally. But now that we're down here, right, we're at a massive area that, in theory should be a pretty powerful support. It did many times in the past and we've bounced off of it many times in the past. The stochastic is finally curling. All we need is a nice little push tomorrow and the stochastic should curl back up into the green and the green should cross the red, indicating a bullish crossover on the 1 hour chart. If we get that, I personally believe we'll most likely get a rally tomorrow, maybe Monday, something like that, right? The next few trading days, probably back up to about the 225 range and most likely retesting this breakdown on the 1 hour time frame. We actually did retest it on the 15-minute, which where I also had it, right? I show my members this as well. Came back down, came back up, retested it, moved back down, right? And I kind of expect something like this right here, but on the 1 hour time frame, right? I expect this to come back up again, somewhere around 225, which also coincides with this massive, in theory now resistance, and most likely get rejected and then most likely make our way down even further, unfortunately. But we'll see. There's a chance we just break back up above. That is also a possibility. So we'll see how it reacts. But again, like I said before, whenever we're in this range, well, now the range is pretty much 225 to 215. That's the range. When that level breaks, expect to move potentially further in that respective direction. For instance, if we break back above 225, which, I'm not going to lie, it doesn't seem too likely. It's possible. I wouldn't completely bet on it or anything like that, but it's possible. Then there's a chance that we finally look to retest and break out of this actual bull flag that we're still in. Even with this move down, we're still very much in this bull flag. Even if we crash down substantially further, we're still technically in this very, very large bull flag. So that's important to note, right? The RSI, another RSI, the stochastic was actually on the verge of flipping bullish and unfortunately flipped back to being bearish. So it's very undecided right here after such a move, which is to be expected. But again, the thing that's important to note is the fact that, first of all, the volume today was higher than yesterday, but ultimately the volume today on this kind of selling pressure still wasn't really that high. If you actually compare it to the last few weeks of trading that we've been in for quite some time within this range that we've been in, this 200-ish range, right? It's the second lowest volume day that we've had ever since we started trading in this range. So again, keep that in mind. That's a good sign in my opinion, right? That means that, the selling pressure isn't too crazy. I don't know how to put it really, but it's just, if this candle was much larger than this, if this candle was much, much larger than this in volume, then this would have been a lot more concerning, but it's not. So that's why, it's not as concerning as it could have been in my opinion, of course. Now, again, I do want to make it clear, if we do lose this kind of, pretty much the low of today, honestly, tomorrow, let's say, that very much opens up the possibility of us coming back down to 205 to as low as pretty much $200 per share. Like, it becomes a very, very, very realistic target. Very possible. I think it definitely has a chance of happening. But again, let those levels dictate it for you. No reason to think you're smarter than the market and no reason to try and just, guess it, I guess, if that makes sense, right? Just let it dictate it for you. Let the market kind of, show its hands, right? Let it figure that out for you. No reason to think you're smarter than the market. That's just the way I look at it, right? But again, I guess I want to make it very clear. With all this being said and done, we're still very much within this massive bull flag, right? Even if you take the Fibonacci from all the way back here to this swing low, all the way up here to this swing high, you can see we're kind of dancing around the 0.382 level. But the 0.5 level, which is one of my favorite levels to retrace to, is sitting pretty much right at that 205 level, which is why, again, I personally would not be surprised to see us ultimately at some point come back down to that level. Maybe we do it tomorrow. Maybe we do get that bounce first to 225, and then from there we reject, and then ultimately make our way lower, maybe next week or something like that to 205, 200. A very real possibility. If we somehow lose that, the last level for any bullishness to still be intact, in my opinion at least, will be around the kind of mid to high 180s, which is that 618 Fibonacci retracement level. So those are the main levels to look for to the downside if we do continue moving down from here, which again is still a very real possibility. Don't disclude it entirely. Now, next thing I want to talk about is the weekly chart. Obviously, we still have another day in the week, but based on how it's looking right now, if you take a look at this, obviously, final boss trend line I've been talking about, which, I mean, we did technically breach it and we did technically defeat it, if you will, because we did go above it on a few weeks ago, right? We're coming back down to retest that. We already retested it once last week. We're pretty much right at that same level, retesting it right here, right now, which is why I don't think we'll drop below 215 tomorrow. Honestly, I don't think we will. We might, honestly. Amazon clearly not good numbers over here. Apple reporting probably in a few minutes here, actually. So if Apple also misses, that actually could be enough to bring us a bit below 215, right? But if Apple somehow doesn't miss, and if Apple actually does well, could be enough to kind of help the market lift itself up, especially considering Amazon's not picking up the slack here, and bring us back up and hold above 215. And I think, going for 225 next is a very realistic target. And then from there, we'll of course reassess. But again, the point I'm trying to make here regardless is, even though we have one more day left in the week, we are pretty much right back to that weekly trend line, retesting it once again, like we already did in the previous week. So let's see how that closes out for this week as well. But those are the main things I'm looking at, right? The daily, stochastic still, bearish, right? The BX trend are still making lower lows. So there's definitely some bearishness. I definitely don't think Tesla's out of the woods just yet. There's definitely more work to be done, in my opinion. There's still a very real risk and possibility of 205. I have cash secured puts sitting at 205 for next week. I literally just sold them before the market closed. Very nice premium on those, and I'm very happy to continue adding there. I did kind of go trade in and out of Tesla pretty much throughout the day. Like I said, I re-entered when it was at around pretty much between this kind of 226 to 223 range. Obviously, as we broke down below, I ended up taking a loss there. Thankfully, right, we ended up much lower, and I pretty much started rebuying back down over here, and my average is pretty much roughly where we closed right now. So again, if we lose this low of the day, I most likely will take the loss. I will most likely get ready to buy them back down at the next level. And that's probably how I'll do it. Or I'll just sell cover calls. I'm not really sure just yet which one. But I will hedge somewhere, whether it's raising cash or whether it's selling cover calls. I'm just not sure which one I'll do yet. I'll kind of, get there when they get there. But yeah, that's kind of the main thing I'm looking at, right? In terms of options flow, actually surprising amount of decent options, puts rather, being sold against Tesla. You can see here throughout the day, a lot of them for next week and this week. So that's a good sign. So clearly bulls are stepping in. Clearly they're thinking maybe, you know what? what, maybe we're starting to get closer to the bottom than we think, right? Which is a nice sign to see. A lot of puts came in on Tesla throughout the day, but with that being said, Tesla's actually pretty low on the confirmed bearish flow. You can see it's all the way down here, only at 5 million. Nothing crazy. Nowhere to be found really on the bullish flow, unfortunately, right? So clearly not very bullish just yet, but it seems like the bearishness is starting to fade a little bit, right? Which is, I mean, after such a day, I would assume so. But ultimately, that's kind of the way I'm looking at it, right? Again, just look at the levels, let them decide for you, right? Again, 225 being the next resistance point now. If we break above that, great. I think from there, honestly, I think this will just be a bear trap, and we'll most likely continue making our way back up after that, if we, of course, break and hold 225 from here on out. I do believe that. But again, as long as we're below 225, breaking below 215 becomes a very realistic possibility, which then will make us see 205 to 200, and below that will make us see pretty much around the mid-ish, we'll say 180s. And now those are the levels, really. Again, the one thing I'll be looking for a potential reversal moving upwards, which I think will potentially happen tomorrow as long as Apple doesn't screw the market here, is a stochastic flip, bullish flip on the 1 hour chart. If we get that, I think tomorrow 225 or Monday should be in the cards. If we don't, then, well, prepare yourself for a further ramming in the behind as we potentially make our way back down to 205. So that is a possibility. But all that being said and done, thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I'll see you as per usual on the next one. Peace.